Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Dave Seymour. Dave, I want to start off by giving everybody a bit of your background and who you are.
Yeah, sure, man. Look, first of all, thank you for having me. Right, not everybody gets to be on a show and shoot the breeze. My background's kind of diverse. I'm from England originally. Came to the States in '86. I was a young gun chasing my first wife, who was an American citizen. I'm legal. I've got papers, but I'm part of a blue collar family, and that doesn't jive well with finance and entrepreneurship. So I came to the States. I did as many people have done, not so much in Canada, not so much in England, which is interesting, but in America, it's the wild, wild west, and they allow you to spend more money than you earn. And unfortunately, there's a consequence for that. And during the crash, I found myself in a really rough position, man. I was a firefighter and a paramedic working in the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. I had a home. I'd refinanced it, I think, 3 times. Imagine that in 18 months.
Oh.
And every time it was because some predator from the financial industry said to me, Dave, you're a firefighter, you serve the community. You should refinance your house at 120% its value. You should do that. And I'm like, okay. And it was brutal.
I thought you were going to say they wanted you to do that because of a building you had and you needed to put money in or something like that.
No, look, it was financial illiteracy, Glenn. If you think about it, right? There's not any. I don't know where it is in Canada. I don't think it's there. It's not in England.
Yeah,
and I know it's not in America. There's no financial education. Nobody teaches anybody about money or leverage or business at that, core base level. Yeah, you can go to Harvard if you want and spend $50,000, $100,000 to get a business degree. Whoop-de-doo, you're just somebody else coming out with a degree in your hand.
But at the same time, are they going to teach you how to, do a mortgage or how a mortgage works or how,
No, nobody teaches you that stuff.
Or, yeah, who knows?
No, nobody teaches that. I mean, when I got educated and I learned what a mortgage was and I went back and I looked at how many times I had refinanced, fine. Yeah. But what I also noticed on there was the mortgage originator had charged me 6 points on the mortgage every time. Every time.
Honestly, they're taking as much money as you're probably pulling out each time. You're probably
brutal. Brutal. So what's the consequence of that, right? You don't sleep. The marriage tanks. It's not funny at the end of the day. It isn't humorous to be the victim of somebody else's financial intelligence because you have financial illiteracy. And I was losing my house. Things were a challenge. I worked construction on my days off. Long story short, I'm praying to God, and I'm like, come on, man, help me out. I'm a good guy. And I hear nothing. I turn the ignition in my truck, and a commercial comes on the radio, Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5-hour seminar to your neck of the woods, learn how to do real estate with no money down.
Yeah.
And I took it as a sign of divine intervention. I took a leap of faith and started down that road of the education space as a student and implemented it. I actually did what I learned, which is rare, unfortunately. But that led me to, the TV show. I started getting recognition. I was asked to teach. I was asked to speak. I would be a pundit on TV shows. 1 minute I'm sitting in the firehouse, watching these shows, and the next minute I'm on the shows. I'm sitting there with Becky Quick and Joe Kernan from MSNBC, and I'm an expert now because I'm on a TV show, which is a freaking joke. It's a joke. Like, I know those TV people, and most of them are donkeys, but it's a crazy world, man. It gets turned upside down. But that led to a number of different real estate strategies today, and putting capital to work, lending, buying, investing, building. So, I'm a blessed guy. I've had a pretty interesting journey here in the United States of America. It's been good.
So, okay, there's so much to digest from that.
There's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. So I'm just looking back from the start of your story, and you think you're some financial illiteracy, and then you take the program and then you take action. There's Like, what part of that did that look like? How long did that take? Like, what did the first deal look like? Because like, I think that's where a lot of people get hung up on, is just, starting and taking action. Did that coaching program like give you one-on-one help, or were you just like reading or like listening to, I don't know, back then VHSs or DVDs and going through it on your own and then just taking action? Like, what did that look like, the course that you took and then went from? Are you interested in investing in the US? I honestly see Canadians making tons of mistakes, simple mistakes that could be avoided by just a quick phone call. Honestly, I think we should just get on a 15-minute call. You ask me some questions, I answer some questions, and I tell you a little bit about the coaching program. We see if it's a fit. My coaching program is completely different than other people's. What my goal is to help you actually implement the material. All the videos are pre-recorded, so you can just zip through those on your own time. But when you're actually buying property, this is what sets me apart, is that we actually sit down, you do your deal analysis, you have questions, ask me some questions. Let me go through it with you. Let me help you. And this is what's going to set it apart. This is why you're going to avoid mistakes. You're going to miss those little things that you just missed that could cost you a lot of money. Maybe I can see it. Maybe my experience. I've been doing this for a while down in the US. Let me help you. Let's do a quick 15-minute call. If that's of interest to you, go to glensutherland.com and you can book a 15-minute call. Anyway, hope this is helpful. Thanks, everyone.
It was horrible. The course I took was horrible.
Yeah.
So here's the truth of the matter, right?
Yeah.
Real estate investing is fifth grade mathematics. Okay,
Yeah.
It really is. Know your numbers. Is there enough margin? If there is, find the money, do the deal. That's it. I don't care whether it's a $20 million deal or a $200,000 deal. The fundamentals are exactly the same. So if we can agree on that, we might or we might not. But if in general we agree on that, I was taught the fundamentals of underwriting and deal analysis. I was then told none of that mattered if I didn't have framework, I didn't have teamwork, if I didn't have relational value that I could bring as well as receive. So I can do fifth grade math. So I leaned into the relationships. What could I bring to the table that was valuable to somebody who had what I wanted, whether it was money for a deal, deal flow, brokers, realtors, investors, insurance agents, legal. There's a lot going on. Yeah. Well, this guy from the fire department with very little financial education needed to bring some value to the table. And I learned that. I learned relational and transactional value. And that took me to my first deal. It was during the crash.
So we're talking 2007, 2008, or 2009?
2008, 9, around there, 8, 9, 10. And I remember the amount of bank-owned assets here in the United States was off the charts, and nobody knew how to do short sales. They didn't know what a loan modification was. They didn't know how to do deals with REOs, real estate-owned, bank-owned assets. Yeah. And I learned it from my mentors. I learned it, and then I applied it. And I remember I wholesaled a bank-owned property, which they said you couldn't do. And in Canada, I'm not sure if wholesaling is a viable.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, you got to do. It's a little different. But anyway, I figured it out through various trust structures and different legal entities that were taught to me, and I made $5,000. And I was like, oh my head! I had a check in my hand for $5,000. And you got to remember, I'm trading 14 hours for $200 of overtime at the time. Yeah. And those are defining moments, man, because here's what you realize. When you do it, your first deal or your 1,000th deal, when you do it, nobody can ever take that away from you. They can't say you can't do it again, right? They can't say you can't do it. And more importantly, the people who were behind me, or the people who were still in the same mentality, those suckers come out with lines like, "I always knew you'd make it, Dave. I always knew it. You were lucky. You lucky guy." And I'd be like, "No, you Mr. Munyama." It was like, "No. Luck is defined as preparation meeting opportunity. I put in the work. I learned it. I absorbed as much of the information as I could, and then leaned into it." And I think those are the real differences in me compared to maybe some others. And I'm not special. I'm just blessed.
So I worked with a lot of firefighters before, and they have a little bit more downtime than some other professions. Do you think that people could have done this if they weren't a firefighter, weren't working
Yeah,
like,
of
2 days a
course.
week or something?
Of course. Look, man, I worked 4 days. I worked two 10-hour days and two 14-hour nights.
Yeah.
Now, I worked in a busy inner city, so there was no great rockabouts, right?
Yeah.
I was still up and working the next day. I was working 120 hours a week between three jobs just to try and make ends meet. And
Oh,
I found
oh,
time
yeah.
to learn real
Okay.
estate. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So look, watch this. Ready? Dave, I want to be financially independent and I want to be a full-time real estate investor. That's awesome. What are you doing with your time? Well, I got to catch up on my Netflix specials. I've got to do this, I got to do that. I need a good solid 8 hours sleep. I'm not getting up early for this or that or anything else. So your mouth might be moving, but are your feet, right? Are your feet in action? And look, a lot of people, their actions are not in line with their intentions. So your question is, can you do this on a tight time schedule? Yes. Will it take you a little bit longer? Maybe. Maybe you're brilliant. Maybe you're the guy or the girl that absorbs the information and bangs on the phones and makes the offers and raises money and gets it all going in 30, 60, 90 days. Maybe you're that person. I did my first deal in 6 months. And a year later, I was out of the fire department because it cost me too much to go to work.
Yep.
That was my story. I don't know if it's anybody else's. That was my story. And again, I'm not that special. I'm just a blessed guy who implemented what he was learning.
Yeah. Now, my story is kind of similar too. I took what I knew and I went as fast as I could with it. And I made a
Hmm.
crap ton of mistakes. And I should have
Hmm.
had a coach that was, checking over what I was doing and even helping me figure this out. Like I was buying
Yeah.
properties with my home equity line of credit, basically using my house, didn't know how to do a mortgage or a refinance at the time in the US. I could do it in Canada, but I couldn't do it, knew how to do it in the US. But I ended
Yeah.
up collecting three properties, refinance. It was like, get as far as you can go and then find someone to help you and then go as far as you can go, help you. Easiest way, if you can find a coach. Honestly, if you can find a
Yeah,
coach to
Glenn,
get you there.
I love you for saying it, dude. So here's why, right? Yes, I got a coach. I was mentored by some of the very, very best in the business. And as my finances allowed me to hire better and better coaches, I did it.
Yep.
If I look back at the past 15, 20 years, I've maybe got 500 grand invested just in education and coaching, to be
Yep.
frank with you. I really do. And that's not an exaggeration. But here's what you buy. When you buy a coach, you buy somebody else's mistakes. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
And you one or two ways. You're going to make mistakes either yourself or you're going to pay for your education through somebody else's mistakes. You choose whichever. But my warning to that is very simple, is that when you start playing in a sandbox where the exposure gets bigger, financially, reputationally, when your exposure gets bigger, if you screw up, the price that you pay is pretty substantial, right? So having somebody, I've got so many examples, we don't have enough time, but having somebody say to me, Dave, turn left instead of right, and then me turning left and then looking at what the decision would have been to go the other way. It was a 50,000, 100,000, $1 million mistake that could have been made. It's absolutely worth it. However, please, I beg of you, do your due diligence. Who are you listening to? What is their reputational situation, right? Are they just teaching it or are they doing it? The old adage, those that can't do teach. And I'm much more inclined in my career to hire people who are doing what I want to do rather than just talking about what I want to do. But there's absolutely unimaginable value in good coaches, good systems, good consulting. But I'll say this as well, though. I beg of you, don't be the dig jam. Damn, I'm good. Just ask me. You know those people.
Yeah.
They think they're so smart. They hire a coach and then they don't do what the coach told them to do. I don't understand it, but
Some
I've
people
seen
are
that, as
coaches.
I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. And also I've found that there's some coaches like you can go and evaluate do your due diligence on a coach, but sometimes it's I have a bunch of people that I've talked to and they've hired coaches and then the program that they signed up for wasn't what they actually wanted to do. and they didn't find that
Yeah.
out until they've spent the money. And they're like, this program's only for small multifamily, but they're like, no, I wanted to syndicate the deal. And they're like, it doesn't help that. Or I wanted to do a single family house. It doesn't do that. Or this
Yeah.
turnkey, or it only teaches you how to buy a turnkey property. And I wanted to learn how to buy short sales from the bank. When investing in the US, Canadians make so many small mistakes. They assume everything's the same. They don't understand all the intricacies. If you just would like a free guide on some of the common mistakes that I see Canadians making, just go to CanadianInvestingInTheUSA.com/mistakes and check out my free guide. And while you're there, if you want to book a phone call, I'm open. Me personally, not some other person. I'm personally open to doing a 15-minute phone call with anyone, answering some questions, sharing some experiences. So if that's of interest to you, please go ahead and do so.
Yeah. Yeah. It is amazing. It is amazing. But let's just be frank, right? It's sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And if the marketing matches the sales, it's good. But if the marketing doesn't match the sales, then, it's maybe not so good. Look, here's what we do today and where we focus our attention. And to your point, don't come spend time with me if you want to learn how to flip a single family home here in the United States. I don't have the time or the bandwidth to teach you. That's not where we're at today. I can do it with my eyes closed. It doesn't get my heart rate up anymore because I've done it so many times and so often. And I don't say that to be cocky. I say that because of repetition, right? But if you do want to learn how to buy 25 and up apartment complexes, learn how to develop in the right markets in the US, if you want to learn how our system, that's what we're teaching today. We do that with Legacy Alliance, which is our education arm. And what's nice about that is when we get people learning that, people that want to boost retirement accounts, people that want consistent cash flow, people that want tax advantages. And I know that can get a little tricky cross-border with Canada, but I know there are ways through that as well without experiencing the double taxation. But if we can find those people and those people find us, then we get what's called a match made in heaven because they're out looking for deal flow. We have access to capital for the right deals, and you can really build some nice partnerships and relationships going forward. So that's where we're finding our success. But again, I'm not teaching you how to buy land, right? Like little single family lots for $6,000 that you can sell for $8,000. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not teaching you how to do tax lien certificates. Oh, that's a good one. You can buy a tax lien for $200, and then maybe 58 years later, you can sell it for, $210. It's not what we do. It's not what we do. It's more of a mature game, I think, with more zeros on it.
So if we were gonna say define that, so is it like syndication or is it like doing partnerships or like what kind of, if you say, hey, what size, if someone wanted to work with you, what would be an appropriate size that they're looking to do?
Yeah, great question. Look, man, I want to do deals in the right markets. I want to do deals with enough delta on there to either syndicate the deal or stay in the deal. Okay. So syndication, that term gets thrown around a lot. Basically, it means you're a capital raiser that puts yourself between the operators and the investors. That's what a syndicator does. Now, I can show you how to raise money. My goal isn't to teach you how to be a syndicator and just take a little piece out without ownership. We want to teach people how to identify 25 units and above, secondary, tertiary MSA markets that make sense based on a data set, job growth, population growth, geopolitical friendliness. Once we identify those markets, and now for us, we're looking at the distressed paper that's coming into the market because of all the silliness that we've had here through COVID and above, all of the free money that came in the market. We saw that compression in capitalization rates, and now we're seeing that release on it. Well, those are opportunities for us because everybody bought at the wrong time. So for us, we take them through, it's about a 12-week program. They actually have to graduate. They got to go through it all. It's no good just doing the first 2 classes and thinking you know what you're doing. It's our system. It's our underwriting software. It's our lead generation software. It's our scripts and communication with brokers and investors and realtors, etc. And once somebody comes out of that, they can go live their life if they want. You're all good. We've got some hand holding during that period of time, 6 months of one-on-one, to get them really accelerated into what the market is doing. And then once they're done, they can go off and be on their own. they can come with us. They can look for us for capital alignments, partnerships, and things of that nature. So, it's an exciting time in multifamily because of the mistakes that have been made the 4 years prior.
Yeah, there's been a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
If someone's like, "Hey, you're speaking my language."
Yeah.
Website, where do they go?
Yeah, Legacy Alliance is our education arm. Our investment arm, our private equity company, is Freedom Venture Investments. You can find me personally on LinkedIn, Dave Seymour. But as I said to you before we started recording, Glenn, my team will send you all the notes you need. We got free stuff. Wealth Without Wall Street is a book that we just released in the past 8 months. We also have a documentary and a supporting book called Inflation Nation. It's a 1-hour documentary we're super proud of. It really unpacks what's going on here stateside with regard to the inflationary environment that we're in, even though the government says elsewhere. But we got a lot of giveaways. We got a lot of good information to get people engaged. All the show notes will be in there for you, and you'll be able to find us if you want to touch gloves with us.
Awesome, Dave. Tons of value. I think a lot of people are excited. I love the origin story. So much. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, brother. God bless.
That was a nice video. Bye.